see if I remember how to do this. Try to
I mean,
get rid of-
I'm with you every step of the way.
You're supporting me no matter what.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Biggest.
All
I'm
right.
your best friend.
You are my best friend, Chris. That's one of my favorite things. Okay, here we go. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Recoup. I'm Cooper Daniels, and I'm a guy that knows a little about a lot. And today I am here with my best friend, my life partner. What? Maybe not life partner.
Keep it
No,
going.
keep it. My what else? What is another thing that overstates our relationship? My
Um,
confidant,
Inspiration in life.
my inspiration, my motivation, and everything that is right with the world, Chris Swenor. How are you doing, Chris?
With that intro, I feel
I don't know.
special.
It was so bad that I almost wonder if I should go back, but maybe not. Maybe we just stick with that intro, right?
Yeah, like the 5 people that watch this won't care.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, hey, Chris. Really, Joe? You saying that only 5 people watch my show, or only 5 people are interested in your interview? That's what I'm wondering.
I'm talking about myself because we all know, like people are like waiting for the next notification they get, and then they'll be like, "Oh, it's Chris again." So
Yeah, they're like, "Oh my
whatever.
god,
Go
are
hear
we?"
that
No,
guy.
yeah, they're like, "Wow, Coop hasn't done an interview in a few weeks." Oh Jesus, Chris, is this what we're doing?
And then my fans will watch it.
You've got more than 5 fans. You've got, I think, people that don't even know anything about crypto and are just fans of your beard that equal more than five. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's very true.
That's how are you doing? You just got back from Boca. Okay, hold on. Before I just dive in, maybe for the 5 people actually that don't know who you are, maybe you
Okay.
can just tell everybody a little bit about just real quick yourself and what Reach is
Yeah. So my name is Chris Swenor, as you can see right there.
right there.
I am the CEO of Reach, but I'm also the founder of Alloy and Humble. So we're probably going to talk about 3 different things in this little
Hmm.
talk here.
Hmm.
But Reach, first me, I am a bit technical. I started off as a software engineer 22 years ago. I'm super old there, Coop. Um, and about 12 years ago, I switched over to entrepreneurship, running businesses, running teams, doing a lot of different things. Started actually in crypto in 2013, investing 2015, been building things. 2017 is when I started actually being full time running companies in crypto.
Hmm.
Um, so that's a little bit about myself.
Hmm.
I also I also am into spirits. Not like the spooky ones, but I mean which would be on point since it's close to Halloween. But
Yeah.
like whiskey and agave spirits and things of that sort. So I can love talking about that as well.
Oh, cool.
But really, like what I'd like to say is, if you cut me, I bleed blockchain. I really believe in blockchain. I think that blockchain is the only technology that was invented in our lifetimes that truly has a chance to actually make the world a better place on the whole. And what I mean by that is that it has a chance to actually make things more fair. It's not going to make things completely balanced, and that's okay. There can be rich people in the world. I'm okay with that.
Hmm.
But I'm not okay with how lopsided it is. And I believe that blockchain is a chance to actually make that better. Now, how to actually do that and how to actually give the world the best chance, because blockchain still has been a chance to be ruined by the rich people.
Hmm.
I believe is what is required to make it so that all of the developers in the world have a ability to build their dreams in blockchain. How to actually build those add that value to the world. So that's what Reach is. Reach is that mechanism to bring blockchain to the world through developers. We developed an entire end-to-end blockchain development platform that is uh, that is made up of a program language, a compiler, a deployment tool, pretty much everything that a developer needs to actually bring blockchain into the modern age and make it so that it's very easy to build. Um, if you want to put like dollars and cents on it, we estimate that it's about a 50% cost savings to use Reach compared to not using Reach. So it's a really big cost savings to be able to build cool things, put cool things in the world.
Hmm.
Now, I mentioned Alloy and I mentioned Humble earlier. Both Alloy and Humble are companies that have come out of our Reach Labs, which are products built using Reach. Now, they both have their own independent teams that are being ran by independent people. I just kind of got the engine running, and now it's going on its own.
Hmm.
Gustavo is running Humble, and Mike is running Alloy. Humble is an entire DeFi suite that is designed for bringing DeFi to the masses. How it does that right now is through a help desk. We actually have an online chat box that you can communicate with and get real answers from real people, pretty much 24 hours a day, which is pretty amazing when it comes to DeFi.
Yeah.
Eventually, it'll be all about providing more and more tools that kind of like um, abstract away the weirdness of crypto so that people can actually just do like I can make money by doing hitting this button type of stuff, but
Right.
really make it so that's more approachable by everybody. And it's also the fastest growing DeFi suite in Algorand, so I'm very proud of that team.
Yeah.
We're number two in volume and number three in TVL when it comes to dexes, so doing well there.
Hmm.
Hopefully by the end of this year, number one in both, but we'll see. And then Alloy is was my answer to how do we fix the gaming industry with blockchain, and we did do that by I asked the question of like, okay, well, how can I actually provide value in assets that you buy for video games? And the way that we do that is by making it so that those assets that you buy, that that loot box that you buy, can apply to multiple games. Not just so you're not just tied into one game. Like I bought the Overwatch loot box and now I'm sick of Overwatch and or Overwatch died. Nobody wants to buy a loot box for a game that nobody plays anymore. But with Alloy, the idea is that you buy these loot boxes, and and if you get sick of one game, you can just go bring it to an entire ecosystem of mini games, and built an entire economic system that incentivizes more and more games to be built on top of it, and a way to actually share the overall revenue with everybody that is participating in that ecosystem. So pretty cool thing there. And Mike is running that, and Mike was the executive producer of Eve Online. If you don't know what Eve Online is one of the most popular MMOs ever created.
Hmm.
He was also he ran Battle.net for Blizzard, which is
Hmm.
Battle.net is their gaming ecosystem. So really great leaders in that team.
Wow. How far along is Alloy?
So we've been working on it for a while.
Hmm.
We have plans to release the V1 of it at the end of Q1.
Hmm.
Um, so it's coming along. We just finished MVP one last month, and MVP two is coming this month. MVP one was actually just the interface for games to upload their executables to make it so that they're purchasable because it's a full Steam competitor, and we have right now, I believe, 15 games signed on. So,
Wow.
and we're hoping for 25 games when we go live. So it's actually going to be able to like actually have mini games that you could play and have options.
Yeah, I'm not much of a gamer, but so if I'm understanding correctly, if you were to buy a loot box from a particular game, like you said, you might get bored of that game, or that game goes away or is no longer popular, whatever it is. What Alloy is doing is when you buy a loot box, it's interchangeable in all the games that are in the ecosystem. Is that what I'm
Exactly.
understanding? Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah,
Next, the question you're going to ask next. I do this every time we interview. The right question you should ask next is like,
yeah,
why would anybody want a flaming bastard sword of +3 in My Little Pony Racing?
right.
Um,
Well, that's kind of what I was going to ask
ooh,
next. Where'd you go?
I
You left.
lost me. Here I come.
like
Don't
you're
worry.
like you're like this is the question you should ask next, and then bye.
Click. You're done. Um, so the answer to that is that what we've done is we've actually abstracted away the asset itself to pretty much just the ownership of a pointer at a thing. And we allow for the games to actually decide what it actually means in that game. So what you'll do is you'll pull, say, a Zeus card, which is
Mhm.
so the first set of assets that we're going to have are Greek god based. So you pull a Zeus card, and in one game, like I say, a first person shooter, it might be a lightning bolt skin for a gun. In a fighting game, it might be a Zeus fighting character. In a racing game, it might be that you're racing on top of a lightning bolt. It's like the theme is there, but what it
Oh,
actually means to the game really is dictated by the actual game designer.
that's so cool. So there's like tiers or something in these loot boxes. So if you get a Zeus card, that's going to mean a certain type of thing in every kind of game. That's really cool.
Coop,
I
you
like it.
got it.
Good job.
You,
Good
you're
job,
getting it.
Chris.
You're getting it.
Hey, any chance are you looking for some extra work? What you could do is just be in the background of all my interviews and you could just kind of private message me what you mean to ask. And I'm like, okay, that's actually he's right. That is what I mean to ask.
It's funny they bring that up. It's like I've actually watched every single one of your interviews, and I have an entire document of all the questions
Good.
you should ask. Do you want me to send that to you, or
Yeah, no, let's not live in the past.
okay?
I'll send you my future interviews, and
Oh, good.
you know, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And so you could just be like, so I've got Silvio, not Alpha, but maybe it's Alpha. But I have him coming. So maybe you give me a couple of good questions. All right.
perfect.
So okay, let's before we really dive into all of these different things, let's
Yeah.
just kind of get back to the beginning here and let's talk about what's most recent. And you just got back from Bogota. What were you doing in Bogota?
So there were two conferences down there. The one I really went down there for is DevCon. In my
Hmm.
opinion, DevCon is the best blockchain development conference in the world. They do it once a year. The last 2 years have been skipped because of COVID, but they usually do it once a year, and it's an amazing conference. It's put on by the Ethereum Foundation, but the number of just big brains that go to these conferences that you can talk about really how are we going to apply blockchain to make the world a better place is
Hmm.
immense. And I love going to this conference every year because I get to see people that I haven't seen in a long time. As I've told you earlier, I've been in crypto for a while.
Hmm.
Um, Most people know me from the Algorand space because I spent the last 2 years focusing primarily on Algorand, maybe even close to 3 years now.
Hmm.
But actually, it might be 3 years now. It's crazy. But before that, I was in the Ethereum space, and so I have a lot of connections from back then.
Cool. Actually, I noticed on Twitter today there somebody had posted that formal verification is at an inflection point, and then you had responded with, "Well, what we can do is do some stuff with ERC20." What does he really even mean by formal verification is at an inflection point?
Sure. So first, let me explain what formal verification is.
Do that.
So formal verification is the art is the science of turning your entire application into a math problem and
Mhm.
then proving that that math problem will do what you expect in every potential reality. Now that's at a high level. Let me actually give you like a real world example.
Okay.
So do you remember geometry
Kind of.
back? So you did geometry back in the
I
day,
did. Mhm.
and your teacher gave you a formula, and they said, "I want you to prove that this formula is correct."
Mhm.
What you didn't do is just start putting numbers in and say, "Look, teacher, this number is what I expected." That's like testing.
Yeah.
What you did do is you actually wrote down a multi-step proof that proved that equation is correct. And
Mhm.
that's what formal verification is. Is that you just do it to your entire application.
Mhm.
So that's it's like testing on steroids because instead of testing individual things, um, you are actually testing. You're proving it. You're testing all potential realities instead of individual things. So that's what formal verification is. You can like this has actually been the funny thing about formal verification is it's been around longer than computers.
Mhm.
It's just an advanced level of math that right now, like NASA uses it, hardware manufacturers use it, pretty much anywhere that if a mistake is made, it's a very costly mistake.
Got it.
You think of any other technical thing that if there's a mistake in the code, it's a very costly mistake?
Yeah, I can think of a few things. Yeah.
You can.
Ugh.
Like like blockchain?
Yeah, yeah. Like everything that's built on it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a great thing um, for blockchain, but the big problem with the formal verification is done the manual way is that it takes about 10 times longer to formally verify something. The ambulance went by. It takes 10 times longer to formally verify something than to actually write it in the first place. So it's actually extremely costly. And not only does it take 10 times longer, but it's only can be done by like math PhDs.
Yeah.
There's entire companies that specialize in like generating proofs.
Mhm.
So what the tweet that you saw is that people are starting to see the importance of it. Even though it takes 10 times longer to get a proof done, if you're putting $100 million, 200 million, $1 billion on a contract, you
Hmm.
might want to spend that extra time.
Yeah.
But the reason why I tweeted, and the guy that tweeted it as Morellian, and we've been talking since been back in the Ethereum space, is
Hmm.
that what Reach does is it automatically creates these form proofs for you just through compiling. So it gives you this power in the palm of the hands of developers like me, the plebs, the non PhD mathematicians, to be able to actually really generate those form proofs and have those extra tools. So he was saying that people are really starting to see the value in it, and I was just reminding him, oh yeah, we've been doing this for a while. Nudge,
Got
nudge,
it.
wink, wink. And I was like, and then I asked him like, well, how do you want us to actually show the world that how easy it is with Reach? And he was like, oh, you should just do an ERC20. And I was like, okay, great idea.
Cool. And you guys are going to do it.
Yeah, we've already done the ERC20 in Reach, and that's what the link that I sent was like. Hey, here's the actual ERC20. But what we're going to do is um, we're going to actually build a tutorial around it. So we're going to say, okay, here's all of the lines. This is what it all means. This is how you could do it from scratch. This is why it's powerful. The other thing that we're going to do is that the example that we did is just a generic ERC20, and on Algorand, it's just an ERC20 is an ASA.
Yeah.
So they're not very special. But what we're going to do is we're going to actually build in extra features to this ERC20 that will only
Hmm.
take a few extra lines. Like one of the things that we're going to do is show how people can build automatic tax in a token where that once a year or once like a quarter, everybody that owns the token is taxed a little bit, and it's sent off to a different address or something of that sort. Add this extra function to show you that you can really customize these tokens in ways that are more like are beyond setting the actual max size and things like that.
Got it.
And the next question that you're going to ask,
Yeah. What's my next question?
how can this apply to Algorand?
Yeah. Right. Okay.
That's a great question, Coop.
Yeah.
Um,
I was about to pivot. You'll see where I pivot, but I want to do. How does this apply to Algorand?
so I've been talking about box storage for a long time. What
Hmm.
box storage allows for, that's coming in with Algorand, is allows for somebody to create the ERC20 on Algorand. So custom tokens that you can actually build custom functionality into the actual token itself. You can actually build in deflation. You can build in a tax. You can build all of these things into the
Hmm.
smart contract. So as soon as box storage comes, ERC20s will be able to be like the smart contract ASA, if you will, a smart contract fungible token will become a Algorand.
Well, so wait. Now I need you to explain that a little further. So you're going to be able to, with the new, what you're saying, box storage. You're
Yep.
going to be able to create. Somebody's going to be able to create an ERC20 on the Algorand blockchain that works fine on Algorand, works on Ethereum. It's
So the same
interchangeable.
contract would work both places, but
Hmm.
the big plus thing here, the thing that's why I would be excited, like why would I care about this over the what ASAs already give us,
Yeah.
is that you can add extra functionality into the transfer, into actually the ownership to do a lot more than what the ASA can do. ASA is amazing primitive.
Hmm.
It's just a little stuck with what you can actually do with it.
Okay.
Um, so
So give.
this gives extra functionality to the actual token itself, that you can do some fun math, and I'm excited to see what people do with it. Like, are they
Yeah.
going to start building deflationary currencies? Whatever they're going to do.
Okay. So which you couldn't do with an ASA.
Correct.
Right. So, okay, that sounds really clear. Okay, you said that you bleed blockchain. You also expressed some concern, and that you believe, well, you said you bleed blockchain and tequila. I think it sounded, it sounded like, yeah, tequila, blockchain, and whiskey.
Right.
And you do believe that blockchain is the invention that could really make for a better future, right? And
That's
you
right.
really believe that, but you are seems somewhat concerned that the rich people can come in and ruin the party. And you started in Ethereum. Do you have any concerns about what seems to be a lot of these institutions buying up a lot of like ETH, and you're seeing like some censorship issues now that this proof of stake? Like, what are your thoughts on the state of Ethereum after the merge?
Um. Yeah. So I think so. The merge was very exciting because of the coordination it took to finally get there.
Yeah.
Uh, the being able to actually make a major change in one of the most popular decentralized distributed protocols on the planet is a hard thing.
Hmm.
And very like it's awesome that it happened and it went off without a hitch. I really did. Like there's no a hard fork to people are thinking that there was a people say none of that happened. It just
Yeah.
happened and everything was good.
Yeah.
Um, it didn't add really much improvement to Ethereum, other than less environmental impact, which is good.
Mhm.
But it's still low TPS. It's still expensive. It's still all of these things. But I'm feeling good about that. The big downside is that it did centralize things quite a bit.
Mhm.
Um, the big debate right now is like, does that actually matter? Like, does centralization matter if there's enough decentralization to police the centralization? You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like okay, well, if it's centralized and it's run by these big companies, um, if they acted up, they would just be hard forked out, and because the people that still believe, it would just hard fork away, and they would keep on going. That's like the big debate right now is like, is it okay? Is centralization okay? Or
Mhm.
the way that Ethereum centralized right now is okay if there is the decentralization police still out there keeping an eye on them. And I personally, um, I like decentralization better. But there are benefits to what of centralization. There are benefits where things go. One of the things that I won't go into here is like being brought up a lot in the Ethereum space right now is MEV, miner
Mhm.
extracted value,
Yeah.
and about like front running and flash bots, how that is all handled. And to me, that is another version of centralization that you can actually pay somebody that has tons of stake to be able to keep your transaction hidden until it's actually on the chain. But at the same time, they could then get paid to move your transaction around. It's a weird situation. It feels like it's an inevitable situation that people are just like accepting. And I don't know how I feel yet, Coop.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about what you just said. Because not just so, they can have somebody pay to do that, but then they can do that themselves with them and their buddies, right? I mean, that sounds
Yeah.
like a big, yeah. That sounds doesn't sound so good, Chris.
It doesn't sound so good. I mean, but it's also you ever heard of the term a good problem to have?
Yeah,
That's just
right.
one of those things. It's a good problem to have.
There's a
And
lot of people, no
until
money.
exactly, until somebody builds a product that is used as much as them, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
Ethereum, they this is where everybody's playing right now. A lot of people
Yeah.
are trying to catch up. Solana did well for a while. I worry about where Solana's going from here. How this bear market's going to affect them. But as far as actually the tech goes, thing I've always been saying is that the Algorand tech best in class.
Well, yeah,
I don't know of a different blockchain that is better tech than Algorand's.
absolutely. And that is the thing, right? So everyone says everybody's on Ethereum. Ethereum is battle tested. And then all of these other layer ones haven't been tested. It seems like you say Solana actually has been tested in some capacity. And it often, doesn't do so well under those tests.
Right.
Um, Now, maybe hypothetically, the best tech, like you said, what do you think? Or do you have an opinion on if Algorand were to get that kind of traffic, how it would behave? Are you confident in that?
I mean, honestly, I'm confident in the Algorand Inc. dev team. As the team under Paul as the head of product.
Mhm.
Um, they're great devs. They really not only are they building solid infrastructure, but they're doing it in a pretty rapid way. They're rolling out features pretty quickly. I am actually much more concerned about the applications built on top of Algorand and less about the actual protocol itself.
Yes.
Um, and the reason for why I'm concerned is because I'm a nervous Nelly, number one. But number two, the amount of TVL on these protocols isn't at what the TVL of the other chains are. And
Mhm.
when that happens, those naughty people are going to start
Yes.
looking over. They're going to start looking at these contracts and seeing if they can find any holes.
Yes.
Um, and that's the thing that actually I worry about more is that, it's the whole honeypot is that once our honeypot gets good enough, people are going to start now looking at it. And so they'll start looking at the actual, the applications built on top. That being said, the teams that are building on top of Algorand right now, Folks Finance, AlgoFi, Pact, Humble, of course, they're
Hmm.
all extremely solid teams. And I think they're doing, I've talked to them and I think they're very smart people. But
Yep.
being a nervous Nelly is something that I do worry about. When the eye of Sauron swings back,
Yeah.
like, well,
And
look at you guys over there with that billions of dollars TVL. Nom 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 nom
yeah,
nom.
well, exactly. And we are all, celebrating this climb in TVL and, being, you have AlgoFi up there in TVL on, total DeFi, folks finance shows up. And yeah, that's going to bring the attention that you're talking about. Those,
That's right.
I mean, and Humble even had a bit of a hiccup upon launch, right? What,
Yeah, yeah,
what happened? What happened there?
yeah. So, what it was is when we originally launched, our logic in the math of providing liquidity was off. And how it was off is that what we did is we made it so that we try to actually we try to actually build something that was beneficial. Is that we estimated the amount of the value of the pair to go in, and
Hmm.
gave the actual responding liquidity token back that matches the total volume.
Hmm.
By doing this, is we made it so that it was possible to do actually a trade on Humble without paying the fee. So there was a way to actually to do that to like somebody could if really wanted to pick a certain pair and really kind of like game the system to be able to take it. And we're like, you know what? We found this. Let's go ahead and take a pause real quick. Let's fix it and then relaunch. So yeah, we definitely did.
Hmm.
Um, but the DeFly guys, which are another amazing team, found it, and we're really happy that they did. And we just made that quick fix. It was actually one line of code that we had to modify, but we did it, and here we are.
Yeah. Well, there you go. And it's been seamless since, right?
Like running like butter. Yeah, that's
And
actually the great thing about Humble is that what I'm most proud about Humble is the most diverse in ASAs that can be traded. Um, Act is great at the Algo Mint tokens, so like all your BTC, Algo, like goBTC, goETH, and Algo Mint.
mhm.
I think there's a Go USD as well, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
yeah.
So Pact is great for those, and then Tiny owns the USDC algo pairing right now. Like that is where they get most of their volume. That's what people are swapping in and out of. Um, and Yeah,
Yeah, but you guys seem to be grabbing at that a little bit. You say, "Hey,
I mean,
yeah, you guys are grabbing a little USDC algo
get that out over
action."
here.
Yeah, Vestige is another ASA that
Uh,
is exciting, and you have some good swaps on Humble for that as well, don't you?
I I've been an advisor to Vestige back when they were Tiny Chart. So
That's right.
that's another great team building great things, and they're using Reach. So
So you
you
like
know I
them a
got
lot for that.
I really like them.
You're gonna really like them. Okay, yeah. There's a lot of these. Like Zone uses Reach too, right? Yeah.
Yep.
I'll talk to Zone tomorrow. And yeah, a lot of these do. So okay, Reach is
XPact is like deep as you can go in Reach. Like they're
like they're just
amazing.
they could yeah. When does that go in live?
Oh, okay. I love that you keep asking me questions about other teams.
You brought it
I,
up.
I think it's going live tomorrow. Um,
Is it
you can
really?
hold me to that.
You're like, I don't know, Cooper. Hey, I
You've
told
asked
you.
me questions. Why would I know?
Why would you know? I don't know. I don't know because it's been a while, and you like them. They use
I,
Reach.
yeah,
Yeah,
they're a great team.
they're
Austin,
yeah.
one of like the main core contributor, amazing human being. You should have him on your show.
I have. I've talked to
Oh,
him. I've talked to him. I've talked to Austin,
I mean, I knew
and
that.
yeah, right. You've watched every single one of my interviews with notes, Chris, and also Dojo from Pact, where I had a call with the two of them.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so Reach, like you said, you started on Ethereum, but Reach is also a multi-chain endeavor, right?
That turns out the future is multi-chain.
That's what they say. Don't they say
That's
that?
what they say. That's
So
what I
what's
say.
your so what well first what chains are you predominantly on other than Algorand?
EVM. So
Yeah.
EVM is like our like this is where we started.
Hmm.
We are just recently started making a resurgent back in there. This is why I went to DevCon. But so all EVM chains, which is like most of the other ones now, because everyone's like, "Oh, me too," when it bought the EVM. And
Yeah.
then also we did Conflux. That's big over in China. We don't have many users on them, but we still fully work on Conflux. So if you ever want to whip out a application on Conflux, I'm your guy. Um,
do, do people do that?
I no. We have like things like because the community is really big in China, and we don't have a big presence in China.
Hmm.
We don't really spend a lot of time marketing for Complex. Like the truth is that like once again, in the last 3 years, we've been devoted to Algorand. Like everything,
Yeah.
like from like building up the developers, running hackathons, running everything for Algorand. Yeah,
Yeah. Let's talk about that then. So you have Algorand, you have devoted all this time to it, and clearly we're watching it grow. I mean,
yeah,
there's no denying that Algorand is growing. I've been talking about Algorand for over a year, and a year ago it was nothing really. It's like always a bunch
agreed.
of guys talking about which country might use Algorand for a CBDC, and then we had a bit of a launch. Then there was Yieldly, and then Tiny Man came, and there was some things
So
happening.
Yieldly are like,
Yeah.
do you know
What are my
anything about
thoughts?
them?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about Yieldly and AlgoFi in a second, Chris. I haven't gotten done talking. I'm gonna talk about every project in the Algorand ecosystem.
Do you want to talk about any that I am directly involved with, or
Okay, maybe. We'll see. Alloy, yeah, that sounded cool. We talked about that already. We don't need to go back into
yeah,
that.
okay,
Just
yeah.
yeah, just yeah, right. Humble. I do want to ask you something about Humble, but my point is talking about Algorand, the growth of Algorand. It's a multi-chain world. All of these things. How do you see this shake? There's going to be winners and losers. Obviously, it's not a multi-chain world where everything succeeds and everybody has these little niche things. Like that's hasn't been the way tech works at all, right? I mean, you get the
Why do you say
winner
that? Why do you say that, Goop? Why do you say that
because
that's not how tech works?
well, okay, tech. I shouldn't say tech, but in the sense of like
Wait,
there's a
Goop,
Google.
how many different types of rice are there in the world?
Well, rice. There's lots of rice,
Rice is
but
pretty simple, right?
if you look at how many different types of social media platforms are there, not that many that people actually use. There's
Yeah.
TikTok, there's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's Twitter. And then how many search engines do people use? Well, there's Google, and then there's a couple other like kind of like if you
Bing.
like and big big one. Ask
That's
Jeeves.
that's the one I use.
Do
Bing. Do you
you,
Bing it?
or Duck Duck Go? And then there's some cool stuff that people use, right?
Yeah,
Brave is
DuckDuckGo is awesome.
yeah. And but people tend to consolidate, right?
So
And
they're so you're thinking at the wrong level of abstraction. Goop.
okay,
Um, as far as actually users go, like direct user using, you're right. Like there's applications that do certain things, and when you raise level of abstraction, there's not really like one thing can do a lot of things pretty well.
hmm
But when you lower the actual level of abstraction down to like where we are with the protocols, is that you can really optimize for different things. You can optimize for transactions per second. You can optimize um, for decentralization. You can optimize for many different things. The cost, um, and even on Algorand, that really destroys as far as TPS, the actual cost, and decentralization. Will eventually decentralization.
hmm
Um, it when we actually reach global scale, there are going to be chains that focus. They don't try to solve the trilemma. They try to actually solve one arm of the trilemma really well. And
hmm
there will be ones that try to actually do everything okay, but then there will be ones that really lean hard into one way or another. And the future of blockchain, as far as actually chains go, is it's like I believe that there's going to be one, maybe two of every chain that does one thing really well. A single chain that tries to do everything really well will never be able to actually compete with the ones that focus on one thing or another, because there are different needs for different types of applications.
Hmm.
Like for NFTs that are just images, do you really care how decentralized something is?
I
Do you
mean,
What do you actually care about? Do you for the stock market, or actually like value currency? Do you care how fast it is if you're doing $1 million transfers? No, you want to be really scared. So
yeah.
I believe that the future is going to be made up of chains that focus on one of the arms, and the types of applications that are built on that are going to be up to the developers to decide what features they really truly want. A The future decentralized social media is going to need hundreds of millions of transactions per second. You know,
Hmm.
might not necessarily need the most decentralized um, nodes. So
Right.
like that's what I believe what the future is. And you talk about that there's going to be winners and there's going to be losers, but it's way too early to actually say who is who, because today blockchain is just a toy anyway. Nobody's won.
Yeah.
Like even like Ethereum, which is like 90% of all the use and the utility and the everything. If you look at it in the grand scale, it's a drop in the bucket. Like the entire market cap of cryptocurrency is less than some like hedge funds have
Yeah.
under assets under management. So like we are extremely early, and to talk about anyone that potentially is going to win or is going to lose at this stage is you're pumping bags at this point, because
Yeah.
who really knows?
Yeah, well, who knows who's going to win or lose, but I think it's fair to say that there will be
Of
winners and losers.
course,
Yeah.
of
And
course,
what you said about the future sounds a lot of like that's what the Cosmos people say, is that, it's going to be there's going to be a bunch of app chains. But obviously, and I think you addressed it with like when you talked about NFTs, like how much security and decentralization matters on certain things, right?
yeah,
And I get that, and I think that that's actually very true. But and Cosmos is obviously trying to handle that with their kind of polka dot sense of shared security and all of that. Like that's all very interesting and cool. But it seems that Algorand is going in that direction of being that layer one, not necessarily that does everything, but that can handle everything on the base. It can handle a hell of a lot on the base layer.
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I think even Algorand, you're going to start having layer twos. You're going to have different things built on top of Algorand,
Yeah.
and really, it's you're going to have a stack of layers, twos, threes, fours. When we're talking about global scale, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like 10,000 transactions isn't going to handle the whole world.
No.
40,000, whatever. Like you're going to be needing millions of transactions per second. And this is where you have the different layers. And it would be up to the developers to decide which layer do you want to settle this on.
Yeah. Right. And there's clearly a benefit from a security standpoint to settle on the layer one, right?
Sure. I mean, as you go up, there will be a different risk tolerance and different costs. I mean, when blockchain is mainstream, there will be a market to fit into the number of transactions per second that Algorand can do. Right now,
Yeah.
we're sitting at I don't know how many transactions per second. I probably look it up real quick. So because
Well, yeah, we don't have enough people to, we don't have enough transactions to actually flex our TPS, right?
right, so Algorand
Yeah.
right now is 11.59
Yeah.
transactions per second today. It can handle close to
6,000.
6,000.
Yeah.
Um, Once Algorand becomes popular and we start hitting that 6,000, there's going to be a market to get your transactions in that will then incentivize for people to build layer twos on top of it. The huge benefit that Algorand has is that it has a much bigger base, so there will be a longer time before it gets to that point. But it will also hit that point once it becomes so popular. You know, the Algorand teams is working on to making that base larger, but they're not going to make it 2 billion or 1 billion, 1 million a second. So there will be that time where it actually hits. Well, one thing that I don't know if anybody talked to you on your channel about this before, but I will,
Okay, good.
is that um, transactions like TPS is not an apples comparison.
No,
So so you see like Solana is saying that they can do I don't know how many thousand,
I think 60 or 80 or something is what they say. Yeah.
but like a lot, right?
Yeah.
And then you look at like other chains that can do, Polygon can do X number.
Mhm.
What they count that with is like their base currency. How many times can you actually transfer their base currency from one person to another? Now with Algorand, the cool thing about that is that the limitations that Algorand has upon a transaction is a transaction. If no matter if you're actually sending in one algo to somebody else or you're sending actually a, doing hitting a smart contract.
Mhm.
So that I forget who did it, but there was a Reddit post that was like, okay, rather than say how many transactions per second you can handle, let's actually talk about how many swaps on a DEX your exchange can your protocol can handle. And Algorand is 6 times higher than the second highest, which was Solana. So like Algorand's at the top, and
Yeah.
then which was 6 times higher than the second. And
Wow.
that's because transaction is a transaction on Algorand, and it's a really cool thing.
That is a really cool thing. And thank you for pointing that out. So when you're saying that 11, right now, currently Algorand is doing 11 transactions per second just because of the traffic. On Solana, that would be represented as a much higher number, most likely.
I mean,
Yeah.
Solana counts a lot of different types of transactions as part of their consensus and things of that sort. So it's once again, it's very difficult to go apples to apples. Let's just like brass tacks. Like let's stress test these things. Let's actually do real things and then count that. But the truth is, like no chain is really being pushed to the limit yet. Maybe Ethereum is, but
Yeah.
um, that's it.
I know. That's it. Okay. So before we kind of move on, we're talking about Algorand. You said another thing, but okay, you said decentralized eventually. What do you mean by that? In response to Algorand?
Um, there's a couple of things. Like number one, the distribution of algos. The distribution of algos in a proof of stake system. If a lot of people are actually holding the algos, they actually dictate really the direction that it goes. Luckily
Right.
for us, the large majority are held by the foundation and the Inc. And then like few investors that are invested in not naughty things happening. So like that's good. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but it's true. There is
Hmm.
the distribution of algos is not is pretty lopsided at this point.
Hmm.
And then the other thing is that the relay layers are still permissioned. Um,
Yeah.
they are working towards it to actually make it so that it is permissionless. But there's a couple things that need to be done. Number one, there needs to be an incentive model to make sense to be able to run these relayers, and then be able to figure out a way that there's enough redundancy that if a bad actor does something wrong, it doesn't bring down the entire network. So right now, the relay layer is permissioned. Um, so would love to see that as a decentralized thing as well.
Right. And the risk of, opening up the relay layer is that the compute power isn't up to task and it causes problems.
Yeah, compute, the actual throughput that can handle a lot of different things that But I trust the Algorand team to actually fix this issue or figure out a good plan forward. And
Yeah.
it's not important yet. Cool.
It's not important yet. And there is a plan forward to open it up. They've been working on it. I think they invited more relays. I think at the end of last year there was more that added to it, and there is a plan towards that decentralization.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay. I'm going to make you do this now. Um
Okay.
so
When
let's
do the hard questions start coming?
I don't well, I don't know.
Make me
I
sweat, Coop.
I asked you never mind. Okay. So let's say Algorand succeeds. uh, to the top of your imagination, right? To what you actually think is realistic in a sense. What does that look like?
I mean, what is what does blockchain being successful in the world look like? I
Well,
mean,
I want no, I want yes. What does you could ask? That's a huge question, but I'm talking more specifically about Algorand, and not that Algorand's going to succeed, like you say. I'm not saying that Algorand is going to be this king on a mountain and everybody else
sure.
just must bow down. But I'm just saying, what do you like when you think? If you think about towards the future, I mean, you put 3 years into Algorand. You clearly believe in the tech. You believe in the people at Inc. and everywhere else, and so you've dedicated a lot of your time and your professional energy towards building and making it more accessible to devs and all of that stuff. And
Yeah.
so, what is the ultimate, like, if you were to see Algorand succeed, like, wow, it really did what I thought it was and more, like, what does that look like?
I mean, it has a it has the chance to be the generalist chain, the one that is decentralized, that has high enough throughput, that has enough low enough cost to be able to be the good generalist chain that can actually be good at everything or okay at everything.
Hmm.
And I think that there's actually a ton of. I mean, this is what Ethereum is trying to do, but Algorand's just way better than that.
Hmm.
I mean, it's really hard to predict which direction the future goes, and it's really like we don't know that in the future maybe Algorand decides to actually focus on one of the arms. Maybe it's like, okay, we're decentralized enough. Let's see if how far we can actually make that TPS go.
Hmm.
Let's maybe they said like let's be the most decentralized or let's be the lowest cost. Like maybe they decide later they want to go in one direction or the other. I think the better way of looking at it is like what does blockchain look like when it's mainstream in general.
Hmm.
And then we can actually talk about what's the chances of Algorand being like the king there. Um, the thing that I always say is that I believe that blockchain can be bigger than the internet is today. Um, and the reason for that is because I believe the blockchain, as far as actually like the programming layer, has the ability to actually program applications onto it. And the only network that's bigger than the internet today is actually currency and finance.
Hmm.
And what blockchain is a combination of the internet and currency. And those
Hmm.
together could be very, very big. And you think about it is that if this becomes a product that is used in the majority of applications, or say even 50% of the applications, there are how many billions of people in the world? We're at, we're almost at 10 billion. How many?
I don't know.
Between 8 and 10 billion. Lots and lots of people. I don't know the exact numbers, but like there are 10 billion algos. So how many algos will you think everybody will have? And what will be the value of the algo to actually power the future of the internet? That's a big number, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So another way to look at it right now is that um yeah, like the internet is the actual market cap of just cryptocurrency is like $1 trillion, and the market cap I don't forget what the market cap of like the internet is, or like the Fortune 500 is a big gap. And to actually expand it to that point, there's a lot more upside, and
Hmm.
that's what we're talking about when we're talking about the potential of blockchain.
Hmm. Yeah. So, okay, so what you're saying is that the potential of blockchain is so huge, and then there's going to be these players in it, and you mentioned the 10 billion algos, and like I do find this conversation of like this generalist type of chain and these app chains interesting, like because I think you're right, and but when it gets to the app chains, I start to wonder, well, aren't these app chains sort of losing the point? Like, isn't it kind of just now basically just another app at this point? On
Um,
some
it, it really depends on the security of that app.
Yeah.
If it's if they have enough validators to actually have the correct level of security, then no. Because
Mhm.
because you have to look at it is that like how many validators are guaranteeing that what's happening on this app is happening. That's what
Right.
matters. It just so happens that in the other main chains, there's a lot more validators that validating everything and kind of that's shared.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean it's not the same. I mean,
It's not.
if they had one, if they had, where they're BSC, where there's one guy that has
A
a switch
switch.
that you can be like, you know what, let's pause this real quick, guys. That's a
Yeah.
different story. But even
Yeah.
then, you still have some value. You have transparency. You have the ability to actually see what every transaction is. You can have the ability to see what every smart contract is. So even like a BSC that is,
Yeah.
CZ having a little button that says boop, pause.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's over exaggeration. I'm sure there's a
Right.
lot more that goes into that, but
Mhm.
even that has some value. In some applications that don't need decentralization, but they might need transparency, could go that direction. And I promise you that a single server is going to be way faster than anything decentralized. So
Yeah.
it's really, what do you want to get out of your application?
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. All right. And all right. So okay, you had mentioned Yieldly and kind of joked about it, and then I had seen recently AlgoFi is building something called Axion, right? And I
Yep.
kind of chimed in a little bit on it. I mean, I did a rant. I don't know if you watched it, but I did talk about it. And
I did watch that one.
okay, you're like, I should probably see the most current one before I go talk
That's
to
right.
this guy. Yeah. And so I mean, look, I chimed in on it. I think I maybe ruffled some feathers, and I don't know, but I'm not really trying to say anything that big of a deal about it. But I don't know. What do you know anything about that for one, or just basically what I know?
Basically, what you know, I know that John is a sweetheart, and I
Yeah.
love talking to him every time I see him at an event.
Hmm.
And John Oliver, they're both very good engineers. Um, One of the things that they're trying to actually solve for is a problem that I saw is that centralized traders um, can't deal with 3.5 second finality or whatever we're at block times with Algorand or anything more than that. Like they are used to millisecond or microsecond or even nanosecond response times.
Yeah.
And if you need to be able to get that type of response, there's just not going to happen on a decentralized chain. Um, so they believe, I see what they're trying to do. I think that ideally what they would do is they would have some type of backup on a more decentralized chain to make it so that there is a, like, maybe like it would make way more sense to me if they built a layer two rather than their own layer one.
Hmm.
But I don't know anything more than you do.
Right.
And the only other thing that I would say is that it's really hard to build a blockchain.
Hmm.
So for them to do this right, I hope that the next announcement that they announce is that they raised hundreds of millions of dollars. Um,
Well,
that's the
yeah.
only thing I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of turning this into an intervention of me. Like I'm making you kind of, I don't know. I'm like, tell me where I'm wrong, type of thing.
You're trying to
Um,
get me in trouble, not you.
yeah, no, I'm
Got it.
just trying. I
Got it.
tried to frame, I tried to frame that differently, but I think you kind of you picked up on it. I'm not trying to get you in trouble. I'm trying to basically understand. And so, what I had said was like, and then this is probably the FUD, right? Is that like, well, they made their plans known, and is it that they need all that funds, so the Algorand community is funding this competitor, right? That was basically the thesis of my
I,
concern.
I am curious. I don't know if they talked about this, but so they just came out with the bank, right? Was it
Yeah,
yesterday or today?
today is, I think it's today. Yeah,
Today. Is that going to be the same currency of their new chain?
it seems very unlikely.
Right?
That seems unlikely.
Yeah, and I hope that. I mean, I'm curious to see what they say about that.
Yeah.
And
All right.
I'm curious. I'm curious about that, and I'm also curious about, like, where is AlgoFi going? Is it AlgoFi always going to stay on Algo? I mean, it's called Algo, so I'm assuming that it would stay on Algorand. Um, and or will the idea that it transfers off? Will there be a bridge to Algorand? There's a lot of questions I don't honestly know, and I
Yeah.
haven't asked. So
Yeah, right. And then I think that they allowed for that possibility of the bridge. I look enough. At least it sound. you know what you did? You made me not feel crazy. So I appreciate you for that, Chris. And that's basically all I needed. All right, guys. So thanks for. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So let's move on to another question I have about Humble. This is all over the place a little bit, but guys, I'm talking to my best friend. Okay. So
Just chatting here.
let me have my conversation and don't judge
Just
me for it.
chatting.
Just chatting. So Humble and governance, right? We just had an extension of a week for governance, and I
Yep.
think that had something to do with your farms. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it originally came out that they were like, oh, so the way that governance will work for this next period is that you can actually vote with your liquidity tokens. And I was like, that's awesome. We have liquidity tokens on Humble. So I gave them a list of all the liquidities. And then it came out, someone asked a question like, okay, well, what if you stake them in a yield farm? And they're like, well, as long as they don't leave your wallet, then it's fine. And I'm like, squirt. Like,
You're like, wait a second.
hold up. That's not how blockchain works.
Yeah.
So I then talked to Massimo and Shai, who I love them both very dear. They're my other BFS. And I was like, hey guys, just want to be very clear how this works is like with Humble that you get that liquidity token, but because we decided to go in a decentralized way, like true blockchain best practice way is then you take that liquidity token and you stake it into a smart contract and then you generate yield on that. And I was like, it feels like you're punishing us for doing the best practice of crypto. And they're like, okay, we see what you're saying. Let's see what do you suggest? I'm like, well, what if we just put like a whitelist on all of the yield farms? So if you transfer it to one of the yield farms, it doesn't mean that it doesn't count against you for leaving your wallet. They said, okay. So we're now working with Hippo, which is one of the service providers that build Tinyman and they built Para. But I also believe that they built the checker for the actual governance to build that system in. And I think we needed to actually extend it because there was some extra functionality we needed to program in. But any day now, knock on all of the wood, that we're going to make it so that the interface, the governance interface, can show you that you don't lose the governance when you stake into the yield farms.
So this is like
Double dip that governance, everybody.
for sure. I mean, come on. I mean, some of those farms they're no joke.
They're juicy, as you would say, as the kids say.
I know
juicy.
they keep on saying it, Chris. They keep on saying it, and I refuse. I was like, I knew that was the word that I was supposed to say, and I just couldn't. I can't do.
All right,
juicy.
I'll say it for you.
Yeah,
juicy.
You did. Juicy. Oh, it's creepy. But they're full of juice.
Yep.
Yep. And there's some of them are so juicy that I don't even want to talk about them because I want them to remain juiced. You know what I mean? Like I don't want you guys all ruin my juice by flooding those.
I think that you want them to be ripe, not juiced. Ripe is what you want them to be.
Right. I want. Yeah. Sorry. So okay.
We're going in analogies. Let's do them right.
Let's be accurate here.
Yeah.
So what else? So okay. So Humble has some great farms. There's what's in the works. Like you talked about it being, this is the beginning. So what can we expect to be coming next from Humble?
Limit orders, brother.
Nice. Yeah. How far away are we from that?
Are there any other platforms on Algorand that do limit orders yet?
Didn't Algodex try to do that?
Oh, that's right. But not on an AMM. So the cool thing about limit orders on the AMM is that you'll be able to set a limit order, and anybody will be able to fulfill the limit order with the AMM. So that it's kind of like what we're building as a hybrid order book AMM application or blockchain application that allows for big liquidity providers to actually fulfill the other side of the orders, or anybody can actually fulfill the other side of the order with the liquidity from an AMM. So it's like a hybrid approach. That's I think is actually the best approach because it allows for people to have tons of extra liquidity power, to be able to actually market make.
Right. Now, does that mean that let's say I put in a limit order for algo or whatever, and does that mean that there needs to be somebody identifying that, or will it automatically be triggered as the price goes to that
So what it
point?
is that we're going to be releasing a bot that that anybody can run and make
Oh,
money, so that you'll be able to run on a computer and it'll just monitor the actual all the limit orders. And as soon as one is actually available, anybody can actually process it.
got it, got it, got it. That's pretty cool. All right,
It's real cool, Coop.
that's it's real. So how close are we to that?
I mean, I don't know if you've seen, but I've like been sneaking out screenshots of it.
Yeah.
Um, I don't
So
know. It's
you're
I mean
like, I don't.
it's imminent. Let's just say
It's
that.
so this is happening. Yeah.
Oh, it's happening.
Yeah. All right. One of the major complaints, one of the major criticisms of layer ones is that they have a foundation and they flood a bunch of tokens to encourage people to come over to get the good, juicy yield for the developers to build because they're incentivized. And then the big thing that Ethereum guys will say is that once those funds run out, they all ditch and go to the next best opportunity. Right.
Right.
So I I am encouraged by Algorand, not just DeFi. It's not their only thing, right? There's like a spreading out of different things, partnerships with FIFA, governments. There's just a lot that can happen on Algorand that isn't just DeFi. But
True.
yeah, so how does DeFi succeed in a big way without all of these incentives?
It doesn't. Um, and this is actually like a real sad truth. And I'm giving you the tea, as the kids would say.
Cool.
Is that right now the amount of volume that's happening in Algorand is not enough to actually sustain DeFi. It's not enough to actually sustain any of us. And the we need to blockchain needs like the blockchain needs to actually hit a tipping point for the fees to be able to fund the existence. Now, all of that being said, this is not FUD because the best thing about the best thing about Humble is that you could throw me in prison for 20 years and Humble will still work.
Mhm.
We built Humble in a way that it will um, fully 100% decentralized, no servers anywhere. The government can come and say, shut down Humble, and we could do nothing about it. And I don't think anybody else can say that in Algorand, by the way.
Nice.
Um, but we can because we built it in a way that and this is actually one of the things that you'll notice that I get criticism all the time with Humble. If you go to Humble, and sometimes it takes a while for like the farms to show up.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a little bit for the interface to fully load. And the reason for that is because you're actually hitting directly the nodes. You're not hitting our servers. You're not hitting anything. You're actually hitting the nodes directly. And because of that, if we went away, if we were like, you know what, guys, we can't afford to actually pay everybody anymore,
Hmm.
it will still run fine. There's no worry about us having to keep paying a server or anything like that. It will always keep on running.
Hmm.
Um, and we designed that way then on purpose because of that. But for just DeFi, for actually new features to keep coming out to actually fund everybody, we need a lot more volume on Algorand, and we need just a lot more volume in blockchain in general. So the name of the game right now for chains, for actually protocols, is to outlast the bear market. Make sure that you plan for through actually investment through being tight to get to a point where the money starts flowing back in, and that the fees are then generated, and then the DAOs or whatever wallets they can take those fees to actually fund more development on the protocols. So we're thinking hard. We're trying to figure out how do we bring more volume into actual the Algorand space. It's less about TVL because there's a bunch of TVL. There's not enough volume. Like the TVL went up a lot in the last week or so. The volume didn't change, or it changed very little. Not as
Right.
much as like the TVL went up. So the main way to actually sustain the main key thing for DeFi products is the volume and not the TVL.
Yes. And yeah, the volume's low. And once and the idea is, even though Algorand fees are so low, if the volume was high, that adds up to a substantial amount. but
Yeah,
it's just at this point the volume is just far too low, and it
exactly.
needs to
Volume is everything.
yeah, and it needs to incentivize, or different DeFi need to offer other services that people are willing to pay more
Pay
for.
for it. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well,
Yeah. So like,
so
so the other thing too, I talk about a lot is that the importance of open source around the protocols as well is not just about transparency and what they actually build, but also longevity.
yeah,
If in a decentralized system, if you build it in a decentralized way, if you like, so number one, there's no server cost or anything like that. And
hmm
number two, if for some reason the team goes away, the team rug pulls,
yeah,
decides like, you know what, we're done with this. Having a open source contracts, open source code means that anybody else could actually pick up where they left off.
that's
And
amazing.
that's the key for like true open source is that's
Yeah,
we are a service provider to the actual to the decentralized protocol, and we are maintaining it, but literally anybody could actually maintain it and keep on going. And that's like I encourage people to be more insistent for those reasons alone, not only like the transparency of everything. That being said,
absolutely.
everything we need to get better at this at Humble as well. So it's like I'm not saying, haha, look at everybody. We have actually plans to fully open source everything, so that
Okay.
people that we can actually, if for some reason the U.S. government says Humble naughty you need to shut everything down, somebody else could easily pick it up and go with it.
Now, so that you're saying there are things about Humble that still are not open source.
Right, we have an open source so what we did is we did a run through of the entire code through video, but we haven't actually fully open sourced everything yet.
hmm
Um, but I'm urging the team quite often to actually do it because that's just who I am.
Yeah.
They what the only reason why they haven't yet is because they're like, oh, we want to make sure that the code is clean and readable,
hmm
so that people don't take it and do the wrong do the wrong thing. So that it is in our roadmap to fully open source everything.
Wow. And you're not reliant on cloud services and all of that.
Correct.
I mean,
I
this
mean,
is
the you could actually take the Humble front end and run
mhm.
it locally on your computer, and it would work fine.
I mean, this is like that's really cool, and this is unique, right? This is unique
Yeah.
to
Not only
yeah.
that, but um, if you go to Humble right now, this is I think a feature that maybe people don't know about. Pause
hmm
my mouse. So you go to Humble,
hmm
and then if you go in the top right, there is so you can connect your wallet. We just did an update, so I got to reconnect.
Okay.
But once you actually connect your wallet, and then you can go down to where it says network provider. You
Right.
click edit advanced, you can actually choose your own personal node. So not only is it the front end, you can run it locally, but you can actually spin up your own algo node and point your Humble directly to your own node. So even
Wow.
if Algo Node or Algo Explorer or PureSake go down and say, you know what, we're not running nodes anymore, you could literally just point it to your own node and it would work fine.
I know I didn't talk much about Alloy. Did we miss anything that I should have asked you about that?
I mean, Alloy is amazing.
Yeah,
Straight up, it deserves its own show.
it
Tell you
should.
what, Coop,
You're coming back.
let me come back. And that
All
one,
right. Yeah.
you'll tell me that we'll talk about Alloy, and then we'll spend the
Yeah.
first like 45 minutes talking about all the other projects in Algorand,
Okay.
and then in the
All
last
right.
15 minutes we'll hit Alloy.
I'll be like, hey, can we talk about Alloy real quick? I told you, hey, look, I said there's no questions. There's only conversation.
Perfect.
Um, are you just we'll end on a light note, like, so what's going on with you and NFTs? I know you love NFTs. Are you buying some FIFA moments? Are you
Oh yeah, I mean,
I s-
I bought, of course, I bought a bunch of those. I
yeah.
spend I lose way too much money in NFTs. That's just what I do. Like, so if
Yeah.
you know any upcoming rugs, let me know so I can
Yeah.
sweep the floor.
Yeah. Oh, and
Um,
there's been a whole I could have asked you about all the NFT drama, but I didn't even get
oh,
to that.
oh,
Yeah.
I got juicy opinions on that.
do
Um,
you do you really?
of course I do.
Yeah, of
Um,
course you do. Okay, then before we go, it's 1:16. What is your thought about all this gecko fam and mama and
Yeah, that's fun,
that
right?
are that it's fun.
I so I'm an outsider. I don't know anything about art. I don't know anything about copyright.
Yeah.
Like to me, I was like, oh, what's the big deal? I like Mama. I like Gecko Fam. I like that. I think the geckos look cool. I own a few geckos.
Yeah.
I like Woo's are like I think super sexy, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm like, what's the big deal that they used skins? They used like patterns for things. I'm like, that's pretty cool. And then people are like, oh, that might be cool, but that's not right. That's against copyright. I'm like, it is. And I looked it up today, and I was like, okay, what is copyright? And I was like, oh, yep, this is 100% not cool. um, but at the same time, I think yeah. So I'm not going to comment any more than that, than other than like it is against copyright to take somebody else's code without giving them credit.
Yeah.
So that's wrong. I
I
think
love that.
that's
I love that you called it code, by the way. Um, but or, yeah, the skin or
the
whatever.
skin, the pattern, or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think the main thing here is that I think the bear market's getting to the algo fam, Coop.
Yes.
I
To
think
me, like even to me, like I really look. I want to call it like I see it. I commented earlier, but I think a mixture of the bear market, me adding another human being in this house, and the fact that like so much of what used to be my money is locked up and down. You know what I mean? Because I'm not going to sell
yeah,
it, and so that I think that these pressures are on a lot of people, and obviously on Twitter, a lot of us that are so dedicated to talking about this all the time.
right,
It's a outsized portion of our thinking, so it's
yeah,
driving us a little crazy because there does seem to be like I saw Mama's response, and he basically kind of I liked it. It seemed honest to me and kind of like I'm not going to let you guys stop me, and I always appreciate somebody kind of snapping back and giving his like giving his standing his ground and being like I made mistakes and all that stuff. So if you saw his thread, you maybe go read it.
I didn't see his thread.
It's pretty good.
I've seen all the rest of the drama though, which like it's like let's take a breath, everybody. Let's take
It seems like it
take a
seems
deep breath.
it does. I do see that, and I think, all right, do I have to speculate about what AlgoFi may be doing? Am I adding any value by speculating about that? And then I have to remind myself, well, maybe I am. Maybe you just don't pounce on it so much. Maybe you say it
Yeah.
and then you move forward. You know what I
Let's
mean?
just take it like let's take easy steps. Like, guys, hey friend, how
I,
about this?
yeah,
Not
like
like you're an evil bastard.
yeah. You're an evil bastard that is trying to make
Why
my
are you
child.
clubbing baby seals? Like, like
It's amazing.
let's take a second.
Let's take a
Um,
second and be kind to each other and realize
yeah,
that there is potential for people to make mistakes and to want to correct and kind of just didn't know something or whatever said something out
yeah.
of turn like
Whoopsie daisy.
yeah, whatever happened to the whoopsie daisy? Everybody really, and I'm not even just talking about us now, just in general. Like
Oh, let's
everybody
get real
really,
serious.
yeah, like everybody
Let's talk
really
about the
likes
World
to.
Day. Where'd the whoopsie daisy go, guys?
Yeah, there's a lot of whoopsie
But
daisies.
by the way, Cooper, if you don't type tweet out where'd the whoopsie daisy go
Yeah,
after this,
you're gonna be really disappointed. Well, congratulations. I hope that this interview wasn't a whoopsie daisy for you. And I've taken enough of your time. I think we've been doing this for a bit.
is this your longest interview ever?
I think so. I think so.
Nice.
Aaron from Headline always wanted me to do longer interviews. He's like, let's do a 3.5 hour long Joe Rogan. And I'm like, Aaron, nobody wants that.
Where you're like, Aaron, nobody wants to hear you for an hour and a half.
No, I didn't say that. I usually would put it on me.
By the
Nobody
way,
wants.
Aaron, I'm just kidding. That's not about you. You're
Yeah,
you're a great person. It was a joke.
yeah, it was a joke. You're ruined. Now you're canceled by an entire community in the Algorand. So good job, Chris.
I know.
You
I
had
know.
to sneak. You had to sneak in that in the hour 22 minute. Well, Chris, I really appreciate it. Are you going to Decipher? Are you going to be at Decipher?
I'm planning on it. I haven't got my tickets yet. I am scheduled to speak, so there's there's a good chance. There's a good
Okay,
chance I'll be
so
going.
okay, good, good. Well, so I'll see you there. And yeah, it was a great time. Thanks for coming on, man.
It's purely my pleasure, Coop. I can't wait to do it again.
You
Maybe
will?
talk allo that time. I don't know.
Nah, I don't know. Uh,
Okay, all right.
no, we talked about those loot boxes and the
We did,
different the
but there's so much
interoperability.
more. So
Okay,
much more, Coop.
one more thing about Alloy, and then we're gonna sign off.
Okay.
Tell me one more cool thing that
Um,
we need to know.
Okay, so there is revenue share, so that the more you actually play the game, the more credits you get to actually get a share of the revenue at the end of the month. This is actually both for the games that you play and for the gamers. This is not play to earn because we're not generating tokens up there, as you're actually just getting a portion of the monthly revenue. So that's pretty
Ooh,
cool.
that is very
Ooh,
cool. So, how do you get into that revenue? Like, how just by playing a
play,
lot?
play in the game.
That's it.
That's it.
So cool. All right, man.
All right.
All right. I'll
Hey,
talk to you soon.
hey,
Hey,
we're going to hang out a little bit because we're best friends.
got to. You're in Boston, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. All right. Are you
I'll have to
going
make it to
to?
the West Coast.
You have to. I know it's a very popular event. Are you going to go to the LA blockchain in the beginning of November?
No, I am done traveling. I like because before Bogota, I went to Singapore. I
Oh,
still got to
nice.
go, and I still got to go to Dubai this year.
Yeah. Too much. I know you're
Too much.
Singapore, Bogota,
I'm going to
Dubai.
Miami next week.
Ooh.
To for because Arrington invested in Humble, and they're bringing out all of their portfolio companies for a couple days. Good old
Oh,
Kelly, you remember Kelly?
I remember her. Yeah. I like
Ah,
Kelly.
she's amazing. She's working with Arrington now.
I
This is one
know.
of her things that she's kicked off.
Yeah. Oh, this kind of getting together of all
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
different projects. That's all. That'll be fun.
She's amazing. I miss her. I mean, I don't miss her because I still talk to her as much as ever because, like, I've been friends with Kelly for over a decade. Isn't that fun?
Wow.
Fun fact?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so you knew her far before Algorand.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like multiple. I used to work with Kelly back in the. I used to work with Kelly and Sean at the same company. So I've known
Sean Ford.
Sean for over a decade as well. Yeah. It
Wow. What was the company?
was called ZMags.
ZMags. And what was that? What is that? Like security?
No, it was a online interactive catalogs.
Oh, like one of those airline catalogs, but
Yeah, like most company, like most retail outlets still actually like print off like catalogs, right?
right.
So what we did is we took those like physical catalogs and we uploaded them, making them clickable and actually so like online interactive.
Oh, cool.
ZMags is still around. I think they're still doing it.
Nice. All right. Cool. Well, that sounds great. ZMags.
Uh,
You, Sean
this is
Ford, and
now
Kelly.
this is a trivia question, like like a deep cut algo trivia question. Which company did Sean Ford, Kelly
Chris Swenor.
Callahan, and Chris Swenor work at together?
I think that maybe that's going to be the teaser for this video. If you make it to an hour, if you make it 90 minutes in, you will be able to figure that
You
out.
you need it like you need to run the analytics. I'm really curious how many people will watch this all the way through.
Yeah, we should. I'll let you know. I'll let you know. There are people that will. I have noticed that it's been cool. Like that's been one of the nicest thing about these interviews is that I do look at the analytics and I get a good portion of people watching them all the way through.
Nice.
Obviously a bunch of people jump ship.
Is it your mom?
It's my mom. My mom.
Has
Yeah,
your
my
mom
mom.
watched it all the way?
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. Right. My mom and my dad in 2 rooms just putting it on the computer and
Yeah.
then walking.
Let's make the little coop feel good. Let's just
There's probably people out there that do that for me, and that
well,
just
you
makes
are
me
a
feel good.
sweetheart. That's why. Like
Thank you.
people should do that. I'm going to do that for you.
You should do that for ours
Yeah.
and all of mine. I encourage all my listeners to go through all of my videos and just let them play
Wait,
till the end.
wait. Like, hey everybody, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button. It really helps the actual analytics.
Yeah, everybody, make sure follow, and then also just let all my videos play to the end, and all the commercials go all the way through.
All the way
Okay.
through. And go ahead and hit that bell notification so you never miss a new episode.
Oh, God, isn't that awful? All of that. I tried. I do that because you have to do some of that, but I don't do a lot
Yeah.
of that. You got to do some. Did you see
So
all my
everybody,
new?
if you watched it all the way through, you better subscribe.
You better. Yeah, at this point, if you are still
At this
listening to
point,
this and you're not subscribed, you are a total traitor to what you actually like. You know what I mean?
Coop,
Did you
this interview has really gone downhill quick, hasn't it?
Did you see my new intro though by Block Runner? Isn't that cool?
I mean, so amazing. Let's talk about how amazing Block Runner is in his art, and like just the Flemish Giants in general, and also the fractal tamers that he did. Man, that guy can draw,
That
right?
guy can draw. A real nice guy too. Yeah, you
I
met him.
can't wait until he does a. He's gonna. I think he's gonna be doing a picture of me.
Is he really?
I mean, I'm gonna make him because I got into the fantasy football that the Flash like, and part of actually getting into like the high roller one was that you get I kind of game the system because like, oh, I'll draw you a logo for your team, so I name my team Chris Swenor.
Oh my God, that is hilarious. I'll draw. So yeah, like if you were like some like witty like fantasy football team, you would have gotten some funny little character. But just by
Right.
Chris Swenor, you're getting an
I
avatar.
name my team Chris Swenor. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, Block?
Yeah, you've got a few of those. You've got a couple of these. Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. I don't think I have as many as you, but I do have a couple.
You have an entire NFT series. What are you talking about?
Oh, I know. I have 100 of just glorious me.
Just you.
Just me. All right.
All right, let's wrap this up. Let's wrap this up, Coop.
I'm letting you off the hook.
Let's
now.
let those last like 5 people let's let them go.
Yeah. If you actually are watching at this point, put it in the comments, and Chris will give you some humble token. Is there ever going to be a token for any of this stuff?
If you watch all the way to the end here, and you get a reach thank you token, the first 5 people that tell you what, first 5 people that watch this all the way in,
yeah,
reach out to me. You get a reach thank you token. Actually, reach out to Coop. I'm going to give Coop 5 reach thank you tokens to give the first 5 people to watch this all the way to the end.
So, okay, did you hear that? If you're here at the end, put it in. Actually, yeah, just put it in the comments. It's fine. I'll be able to see when you sent it. All right. All right. Thanks, man. Thanks again.
No problem. See you later, Coop.